As it turns out, there was a lot of foreshadowing of what was to come if I had only chosen to pay any attention to the warning signs.
That's fine, okay. Okay, you ready to take them up? Just about 6 foot U panels down and in. Okay. Just going up. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Push up about 6 feet. Okay, stop. Can you see me?
This was supposed to be a simple video. Put the Lume cubes on the Mavic 2 Pro, fly it out 3 miles over Lake Tyler and see how well they did. Then fly 3 miles back. If you haven't seen the video before this, they actually functioned quite excellently. What I obviously didn't realize at that time was 16,000 feet from the shore, this was going to turn into my worst drone nightmare. We kept getting a high wind warning, and Eli let me know about it. But since it was completely breezeless at the surface, I chose to ignore it. As a certified Part 107 remote pilot, I knew that what I was experiencing at ground level was not necessarily what I would experience at 400 feet AGL.
Okay, 7,000 feet. So let's do the math. 5280. So 3 miles would be 15, 15, 6, 15, 8. 840 or 880? 840. Okay. So if we get to 16,000 feet, we'll know we nailed way past it. As you can see right there in the middle of the screen, that's still nice and bright. We're at over 2 miles now. You can still see that we're at 15,000 feet. Keep going. Cancel. So, make sure you point it out there again. Still away from us. So go up to 16 and then return to home. So we're right at 3 miles. It's a little bit harder to see in the viewfinder, but from here, naked eye, it's nice and easy to see. So we're at 16,000. We're going to come on home. Okay. Let's put that in sports mode. fly it straight in myself. We are still a mile out, and I'm down to 19% battery. I'm in sports mode, but I'm only going 26.9 miles per hour, so I know it's not actually in sports mode.
So at that point, Level 1's son had picked up on my vibes rather effortlessly. He has, of course, known me for his whole life, and he is picking up on the unusual speech pattern I had developed. His question there was, "Dad, are we boned?" I quickly ran that through my brain's son-to-father translator and understood him to say, "Dad, are we screwed?" Subtle difference, I know, but more my lingo. I was still a couple of seconds away from complete confidence vaporization, and I assured him I had it under control. And I was wrong.
No, I don't think so. It's going to be close to bone now. We are at 15%. Ooh.
Is there anything where like the car and that gas mileage gets zero, so like 60?
Not really.
DJI has this handy little feature that when the battery becomes critically low, it lands the craft. It doesn't ask you for permission, it lands the craft. It will let you steer where it's going down so you don't like land in a tree, but in the dark of night like this, I couldn't see anything. Now you can see I'm out over the water, I've got 13% battery, and I'm going down. So let me give you a little background about myself. I'm an ER trained nurse and nurse practitioner, and I started in a trauma center back in 1987. I do not panic. Like police officers that will run to the sound of gunfire, I'm trained to head to the sound of crazy, the sound of screaming of panicked families. I have always used the mantra of ABC, that stands for airway, breathing, circulation. A before B, B before C, and so on. If your patient doesn't have a patent airway, it doesn't matter if he can breathe. If he has a patent airway but cannot breathe, then it doesn't matter if his heart's beating or not, and so on. So I used that as a way to focus as I walked, not ran, to whatever emergency needed my attention. The years of training on how not to panic flew right out the window. Instead of ABC, it became PDC. Please don't crash. Then it became PGDLIC. Please God, don't let it crash. And the panic set in. Mind-numbing panic. Anguish. Paralyzing anguish. It is a gut-wrenching anxiety like you rarely ever experience because it's essentially a disaster that's playing out in slow motion. It's unlike a bad car accident where it happens boom and it's done. In this case, it was minutes playing out. And when your drone battery is approaching 0%, time slows to a crawl while it also races along like Usain Bolt. It's a dichotomy of time and space.
Ooh, after 7 seconds, the aircraft will land in its current location. That's not good. We are way to freak out. Oh no.
So I'm steadily headed down from 400 feet to 0, or minus whatever the bottom of the lake is. And it occurs to me, if I can steer my craft, maybe I can also make it gain altitude back up to 400 feet. For some reason, this would make me feel better. At least it'd have further to fall before it hit the water when the battery hits 0% and dies. So I decided to try that.
I know, it's critically low. 9%. No, I am not trolling with you. How far out am I if I don't understand? 2,100 feet. Jeez. I'm at 7% battery. Good. I wanted at maximum flight altitude. We are at 4% battery and 1,300 feet to go. Holy crap. 2% battery.
Okay, 0% and still 826 feet to shore. If it drops in the water there, you know, I've done my best. I did my best. I was probably stupid in the way I flew it, but I did my best, and I was about to learn my lesson the really hard way. Just a minute before that, however, Eli had asked me a question. Is this kind of like your car where it tells you you've got 40 miles to zero, but you really got more than that? And I didn't know. You know, a drone's not like an airplane where you can glide it in. So being 826 feet out, when the prop stops spinning, it's going to rotate into the ground, or in this case, the water. But you know what? Let's just see.
Does it have enough battery to like come down and land?
I don't know. 0% battery.
Oh, this is so water.
Why don't you get out in the grass? Oh man, I'm so nervous I keep taking it the wrong direction.
Okay, stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
So ironically, this is where the father-son role switched. You can hear Eli going, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." And he guides me to land into the grass to the right of us. If you look at the little airplane symbol down on the map box, you can see me panicking and almost going in circles. And I almost headed back out over the water. I mean, for once in my life, I was in pure panic mode.
Bring it down. Take it into that field over there first.
Okay, I'll turn it and go that way. Holy crap, critically low voltage warning. Well, thank you.
So at this point, you're going to see the aircraft start spinning, and it's not because of anything I'm doing to control it. It's just finally giving up the ghost, and it's going in, thankfully over land and not into the water.
Holy crap. So, oh my God. I'm trying to figure out, trying to get my eyes on it. We landed it in the field by the parking lot. Eli went to get it.
So that's pretty much the end of the story. I landed in the grass. I actually did not damage my craft at all. Praise the Hallelujah. I'm still not sure if I damaged the battery or not. So that may be the end of the story, but it's not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is that I chose to ignore my telemetry. And that's the sort of action that'll get a novice airplane pilot who is inexperienced in flying instrument flight rules killed really quick. You know, in my mind, I wanted one thing while my telemetry was telling me I should be more careful. Now, understand this, the DJI system will call out high wind warnings at the drop of a hat. My Phantoms and my Mavic 2 Pro handle high winds effortlessly. However, if you're already planning on using up most of your battery on a flight, and I knew a 6-mile round trip would do so, you need to think a bit differently. So 3 rock solid lessons for you all. Number 1, do not ignore what your telemetry is telling you. Number 2, set your parameters before you ever put your drone up. Set your max height for 400 feet and set when you want your system to tell you to return to home based on battery usage. And number 3, do not ignore your parameters. If you do, then number 2 will simply be what you're doing in your pants. So this kind of turned into a 3-part saga, and thanks for hanging in there with me. I hope you enjoyed this and learned a few things from it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like it if you liked it. A lot of work went into it, and a lot of acid reflux went into it. Subscribe if you aren't, and share if you liked it. So thank you guys.